It's live just now.
Hello. Hi, everybody out there in the internet world. Hi, Sean.
Hey,
I'm glad to
Sherry.
be here with you, Sean. Thank you for doing this. I need to take care of one little technology thing. Can you start us off while I'm gone?
Of course, of course.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the first time I'm streaming to YouTube. Sherry's gonna stream to Instagram, and that requires a lot of kind of extra setup. But so Sherry and I, if you
I'm
don't
back.
know Sherry, oh, you're back. It's
No,
done.
go ahead.
Okay,
I love this. I
okay.
love it. Take it away.
Awesome. Well, Sherry and I are certified high performance coaches. We've been friends for a while. We live in the Bay Area, so we get coffee every now and then. And probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, I don't even know how long, uh, we grabbed coffee. We're talking about the book Bittersweet by Susan Cain and how it relates to our work as coaches and the communities that we're in, where it's a lot of people being super positive and trying to find the silver lining and like bulldozing through any type of negative emotions, and how sometimes we need to hold space for the hard stuff. And so we were like talking about that. We're like, you know what? Like this feeling of bittersweetness that Susan Cain talks about is really connective. It's how people kind of build connection in a lot of ways. And the book goes into it pretty beautifully, better than I can right now. But Sherry and I started in one of our um, platforms that we're a part of, GrowthDay, doing this hard stuff is okay talk just to hold space to hold that. And as soon as we started those, we also would do these lives right afterward to kind of debrief on things that we learned, or things that we noticed, or patterns, or just general thoughts. And so that's what this is. Even though we didn't have a hard stuff's okay right before this call, this is a little bit delayed from maybe a couple weeks ago, but we're here yet.
And if
Go
I
ahead.
might,
Yeah,
Sean, it's actually kind of a follow up to our very own hard stuff. Okay.
that's true. Maybe.
Conversation. So I'm just gonna, I want to be fully transparent. I've been doing this whenever I'm in groups or with people or live or anything. I am in it. I am in the grief right now, not at this moment. So don't worry. But you never know when it comes up. And I also, so for two reasons, I like to say this. One is the slightest unexpected thing, right, will bring grief on. Anyone who's gone through grief knows that. It could be a word, it could be anything. And so I always like to say that because if I cry, I cry. Second of all, I think it's really important. I mean, part of why Sean and I are doing this is to normalize that life can have hard stuff. I mean, in fact, life does have hard stuff, right?
Mhm. It's
So,
part of it and part of us.
so yesterday, my dear friend Sean took the train all the way under the bay. Oh, that's beautiful. All the way under the bay to come and sit with me so I could cry on a park bench. And then we kind of had our very own like little hard stuff is okay talk, which
Mhm.
it made me want to talk to you some more today in a more public way because we need to be talking about this.
Mhm.
So gosh, there's two places I want to start. I think Sean, if it's okay, I think what's most top of mind is actually what we were talking a lot about yesterday, which is
Mhm.
that you were so generously sharing with me what happened for you in the aftermath of your mother's. Gosh, I can hardly say it. It's in the aftermath of your mother's passing,
Mhm.
and so talking about like, there's all these do's and don'ts out there of how to be with people when they're grieving. But maybe you just want to launch in and say like some of the stuff that came up for you yesterday when you were talking to me about it.
Well, and for further context, you were asking me about that experience in particular because of the grief you're going through and some of the people around you are going through.
Yes.
And if I could sum up what we were talking about, it would be like there's no one way to grieve properly or no way to support people properly. Like it
Yes.
really just depends on the person and the circumstance and your relationship to them. Trying to think if there's any other caveats we can add on to that.
Well,
But
one thing I've been quoting you on, if it's okay that I interrupt you for just a
mhm,
second, because
no.
I've quoted you a few times now to different people. And I said, one of the things that my dear friend Sean told me is it might depend on the minute. Or
Hmm.
it might change. It might be one thing in 1 minute and change in the next. And to me, that was also really important piece of this, right? That there's not only so many factors externally, it's just internally what we're going through.
Yeah, and our capacities are very dynamic, especially when you're really raw. The
Yes.
closer to the event that caused grief, the more tough. I mean, to speak good English, the tougher it is
Yeah.
for people to kind of be even keel because a song comes out. Like I still to this day, a Beatles song will come on. It was my mom's like favorite music, and it's like one of those things where I know all the songs. I don't know how I know lyrics sometimes. I like sing
Yes.
along. I'm like, how do I know that? And it's just because my mom listened to it a bunch when I was growing up. And
Yeah.
like that music's everywhere. So a random Starbucks, like, Beatles song comes on, you're like, "Ugh." Don't break down in front of people, start sobbing uncontrollably, seemingly out of nowhere. But, that
Yeah.
feeling and urge is there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also, Sean, I really appreciated because, right, we're talking about all of it. We're talking about like grieving ourselves and allowing all of it, but also supporting, someone else. And typically it can be super complex, right? Because a lot of times we might be grieving, but there's also people alongside us grieving.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I took away from our conversation is that there was a gentleness when you were talking about it. Like you were sort of saying, like, you could say, like, hey, you know, would this maybe be helpful, or not? Just this
Mhm.
kind of because one of the things we were talking about is that in most of the grief books, and I just saw it today again on another grief like Instagram site, you know, don't ask people, don't just say, what can I do? Never say, what can I do? But you had a different take on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think there should be some curiosity in how to best support someone. Because for me, I'm a bit introverted, and in my situation, particularly when my mom passed, I was dating this wonderful woman, for a very short time, and she wanted to fly out to be with the family and
Yeah.
everything, and I was trying to plan the memorial and like trying to take care of my dad and my
Yeah.
brother in the process. And it actually would have been worse to have another thing to worry about in
Yeah.
that moment. Understanding too that she was going to be the one to do the longer term care.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Because like there's like the grieving, there's memorials, funerals, like kind of that moment of closure for a lot of people, but like and that can be very helpful, but there's still a lingering process.
Of course. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so to continue that, because I think what you were just saying about like to be gently curious,
Mhm.
was there more you wanted to say about that?
Yeah. So um everyone kind of grieves differently, and I'm someone that needs to kind of I can be very overwhelmed with emotion, and
Yeah.
so I need to take like bite-sized bits of it. And so I knew for my process too that like I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to deal with it. I just either want to be working on stuff or trying to put myself in a place to be close to those feelings.
Yeah.
And small things could set me off, or you have that random song come up, or someone says a phrase that reminds you of the grief that you're experiencing in a very overwhelming way. And so we were talking about how you can support someone in your life that's very close to you through this process, and it it could be a little bit overwhelming to like slop on, not to stop on, but to like add on to with a lot of intense emotions on people trying to care for you and trying not. I'm also a people pleaser, so there's this risk of disappointing people if I'm not
Uh-huh.
allowing them to help me in the way that they think they need to, and that can get really weird. We didn't talk about that, but I was thinking
Yeah.
about it this morning, and like I think that's also part of it for me. So being like, how is the best way to help you? I can do this, this, and this for you, which I think
Yes.
is kind of getting to the crux of what all the grief books say. It's not just leaving it open ended, but allowing for a no, I guess, is a way to think of
Yes.
it. It's like, I don't need help right now, but I appreciate it. And revisiting it too. It doesn't have like, you don't do that once and then
Yes.
bounce. It's like, maybe
Yes.
I'll check in 2 weeks. Hey, how are you doing? I'm thinking of you. I know you're hurting. I can do this, this, and this for you. Do any of these things seem good? How can I best support you? And I think that's a very direct and caring way to check in, have that curiosity, offer a small menu of things that you're able and capable of doing. Um, and so if people don't know how to, like, sometimes you're so overwhelmed with grief, you're like, I don't know. And like, oh, yeah, maybe taking care of, like, bringing coffee over on Monday morning sounds like a great thing, and that's awesome. Or sometimes, like, I just need to be alone to, like, process or to feel or to, do your
Yeah.
thing.
Sean, I think these, I hope that anyone listening now or later will really remember this part, because I want to tell you, I tried this out today. So,
Oh,
and
good.
it was so beautiful. And what I said, I was very honest, and I said, listen, I have a very dear friend who lost his mother, and I was asking for what his thoughts were. And one of the things he said was, offer a few things. And I said, but I also really heard him say, no is a perfectly fine answer. And so I also just tacked that on. Like, and I was like, I could do this, I could do that. I didn't want to I just said I could do this, I could do that, I could do that, or other things. But also I could just do nothing and just have you know that I'm here in spirit. Right.
Hmm.
And it was perfect, because I think what you're saying by the language you're using, I think some people do need to hear no is also a very acceptable answer, right?
Hmm.
And I've really, I've not directly heard that, or maybe I forgot it if I have, but I think that that's a really beautiful part of offering, especially when someone's in grief.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. I would refer to you as I don't want to say like the grief expert. I know you've studied it a lot and you run groups, and have run groups in the past, but yeah, that was just I guess, my experience and what worked for me. And I remember in my situation, I remember feeling very fortunate to be able to articulate that enough to the people around me
Yeah.
to be able to have that space. And that was a gift in showing that they were caring and to revisit it. So um, that's cool. I mean, that,
Yeah, thank you.
that's a,
Well, then I also, to your point, so two things. One is I also did explicitly say, I said, my friend said that things can change, by the minute, by the hour, by the day, and I understand, grief is not static. It's a very dynamic thing. And so I said, I would like to also just reach out again, you know, you know, tomorrow, I forget what I said, later today, tomorrow, whatever,
couple minutes.
in a couple minutes. Is that okay? And the
Mhm.
answer was, please. Right. And,
Oh,
and that was
good.
really interesting. Right. But I think that what got conveyed, beyond that in the conversation, was this part means the world to me. Like, and I think this is the thing I wanted to convey to other people. Of course, we all know that, but I think sometimes we forget that it is a gift. Like, and you did end up coming to see me yesterday, but
Mhm.
the gift, the first gift was texting to say, hey, could I come? Do you want to have a cup of coffee? That's the gift, as much as actually coming. You know what I mean?
Mhm. It's
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes we just need the first gift of the offer.
yeah, sometimes, yeah, and sometimes that's enough to just know that somebody's thinking of you in a hard time.
Yeah,
You know.
right. And so I feel like I'm so glad we're doing this today, because first, like, I'm having the chance to anchor in what we talked about for myself, but also to thank you, right?
Mm.
Because it's this is an important thing to talk about. And I feel like it's an important thing for me to know as a human being, but I hope that other people who maybe like me never learned. Nobody ever talked to me about how to be with grief or how to be talk to
Mhm.
other people about it. I don't know about you. Did you?
No, actually, like I was reflecting on this earlier today. Like I would say that I like nobody really talked to me about it. I thought I was really bad at
Oh,
it. I was just trying to show up for my friend as best as I could.
yeah.
Um, and it reminded me too of this hard stuff is okay group that we run, how important it really is. Cause like in a way, like running a group is different from being one on one with a buddy, you know,
Right.
and like
Right.
Senator's in it and going through it. And yeah, I'm very grateful that we've been doing this work. And I think in a weird way, we we were preparing each other for that moment, you
Oh,
know? So
that, you know what? Isn't that something, right?
mhm,
Because obviously, sometimes we know that grief is coming, and sometimes we don't. And part of it, as coaches, I think this is one of the things, you tell me if this isn't true for you, but I'm going to project is that a lot of the work we do is training ourselves to be present for a moment that's coming in the future so that we can, you know, best take care of ourselves for
mhm,
I can't really lack about any other better language, but it's like you and I have been having these conversations for a year and a half. We've been doing these groups. I've been leading grief groups. Wham, I'm in grief. I can tell you, like, it's so helpful. Like, for one thing, that you and I have this history already of talking about it,
mhm. Yeah.
right? So it makes it a little bit easier to, be in it with you. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I
And
get a
it
lot.
proves the thesis of the reason we were doing the group to begin with is to normalize talking
Yes,
about it. I actually I
yes.
haven't thought about it. Do you think we would have grabbed a cup of coffee and had that deep conversation had we not been talking about this for the last year and a half, 2 years?
I don't think so, Sean.
Yeah, I don't think so
And you
either.
know what? This is not only it's not only proving the normalizing, it's proving something that you have said from day one, over and over again, which is that it connects us. Sorrow
Mhm,
connects us, loss connects us, grief connects us. And that I think because you and I have had that conversation, that there was a trust, right? There was a trust that
mhm.
you weren't gonna like I think I said this to you yesterday when you showed up. I was like, "You're okay with me bursting into tears right now, aren't you?" And you were like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
You're like, "Yeah." I brought some Kleenex. I don't even know what you said, but I was sort of like, "Yeah, of course." That's. And how important is this? Again, anyone listening now or later, how important is it really to start to have conversations when we're not in grief or when our friends aren't in grief, so we can just start to, I mean, maybe we don't know, but at least we can start to talk about it. Hey, what do you think you might need if dot dot dot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And bouncing off of that, like I think part of what we're saying too is sometimes you need to prepare for that moment. Like I
Yes.
think personal development, like coaching, is kind of preparing for that moment. Like, what do you right now, if you don't aren't experiencing grief, what would you think you would need when
Yes.
it comes up, and how can you set up that support system for yourself to be able to
Yes.
say, "This is what I need" when you're probably at your most fraught and at the edge of your ability to function.
Yes. Oh, I love this. And
Mm.
I love, so this is something too, right? That it's like through these conversations, I think we've both been learning more. Like something new usually drops in for us. Like, oh yeah, like
Mhm.
that is a really interesting, in the same way. I'm going to sort of shamelessly promote my upcoming book, but only because I
Oh.
think it's relevant. But so I have
Mhm.
an end of life planner coming out, and a big message that I have for people is like, plan your good death. It may not turn out that way, just like with, I mean, I planned
Mhm.
I had a whole home birth plan, and some of it worked and some of it didn't. I wanted a hot tub. We never got the hot tub up and running, but so some of it works and some of it doesn't. But in planning and sharing with people, there's more of a chance that Like, so it's like the same thing, like with end of life. It's like, think about, I mean, I have a whole playlist of music, which I know you love music. I have a whole
Hmm.
playlist of music that if I'm lucky enough to sort of know that my end is coming and I have the time, that I could listen to music that tells stories to me about my life. That's
Hmm.
one example.
Mm.
That's not going to just happen. We have to plan that. And I personally think that would be super comforting to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that idea. I think I often think about the song I'd like to play at my funeral. And it's
Yeah.
weird. I never really articulated that, or I haven't like said this out loud to anyone. So it's a hot scoop
No.
for our live.
Do
But
you want to share
um
the song, or is it private?
it kind of changes. I don't think
Yeah.
I've settled on one quite yet, which maybe um yeah, I'd have to remember some of the ones I've thought up of.
Yeah. But
So
yeah,
we'll
I
see
mean, you
if we
can
can
share
remember
with me
that.
another time. But
Yeah.
um, I know we have to go in just a couple minutes, but I kind of want to share. I have a candle going behind me, and I told
Oh,
you I might want to
yeah.
talk about it. And
Yeah.
I want to offer a nod to my dear friend Sonia Jean, who this was a ritual that came from her and her mom. So Sonia Jean took
Mm.
care of her mom for a long time when her mom was in the dying process. And one of the stories that Sonia told me once was, this is called a woodwick candle. It doesn't really matter. We're not sponsored by sponsored by them or anything, but they make a
Mhm.
little sound like a fire, which is kind of sweet. Anyway, she and her mom both loved candles, and they had a ritual where when her mom wasn't, in as hospice or in that bad, but when she was just like, first getting ill, Sonia would send her mom the same candle that she would buy for herself. And they would text each other and say, like, oh, I'm lighting my candle now, light yours, so that it would
Mm.
connect to them. And she and I were talking about,
Mm.
true, there's an energy in candles. I think there's sort of the flickering. It feels alive in a certain way.
Mhm.
And I thought that was so beautiful, that sort of, I'm going to send you this and we'll share the love, you know. And she ended up sending me 2 candles right after that conversation, so I could send my mom one.
Oh, wow.
And so my mom and I then, so I would say, like, hey, I'm lighting my candle. And then it has continued over the years for me, and I'm particularly connected to mothers. There's actually a person in our community who lost his mom when he was very young, and
Mm.
he recently got his PhD. And I thought, oh, he doesn't have a mom to
Mm.
celebrate that. So I sent him the candle, and I bought one, and I told him this story. And I've been finding this to be like a very comforting ritual, that it doesn't have to be a mom, right? It could be anybody in our lives, but it can also be for someone who has passed away. So I just
Mhm.
sent one to this other person who's deeply grieving the loss of a mom, and said, I have one here. We could light them at the same time. We don't have to. But I just wanted to offer that to people. And again, thank you, Sonia Jean, because it's a way to your point. Sometimes people don't necessarily, they're not in the place to be with you, but it's a
Mhm.
way to be with them when you're not really like there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that part of it, and I love there's kind of like a second habit then, because I know Ashley will light a candle for her grandmother, my
Yes.
wife. And it's almost like, hey, I'm gonna think of you. I'm gonna light this candle. You send the message, hey, you can light the candle too. And then if they're not there, actually, it's still that kind of connective thing. I like
Yes.
that. I really like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it can work in a lot of different ways, right? Like, I mean, it can, yeah. And again, I've just been so grateful to her. And it's one of those things that has grown in my life. Like, I've done it multiple times now, especially though, the reason I brought it up right now, I've done it especially when someone is grieving someone. Like, I'll just say,
Mhm.
I have the candle here. I'm lighting it for that person you love.
Mm.
Here's one for you, and yeah, it's just yet one another way to grieve together. So
Yeah, and that's beautiful. Yeah, that shared experience, even if you're not physically there, it's a physically. That's yeah. I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So
I,
thank you
I
for
love
letting
that.
me share that. And Anything else like coming to your mind before we go? I know we just have a couple minutes, but if there's anything else that you feel like needs to be said about grief.
Oh, I think there's way more to be said about it than we have to. Like, I don't think we're going to cover anything. We could start something and we wouldn't be able to finish it before we had to bounce.
You're
But
right.
I know we wanted to talk about piggyback grief.
Yes.
And so maybe we can do that on our next call. We'll just carry that over. I know Amberine, I'm sorry you missed it, but
Yeah,
hey,
Umbreen. Hello. Hello, Umbreen. Good to see you. Yes. Well, let's do that. Let's talk about piggyback grief. And also, I can't remember, but I've also been talking a lot about anticipatory grief in many,
mm,
many different forms, which I think there's a
yeah,
whole world to talk about there, especially Alzheimer's and dementia, particularly. But
yeah.
okay, well, Sean, thank you so much. I just love your willingness to hop on and talk about these topics, and it means the world to me. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. I really do enjoy your talks. I always learn something new, and it's good to just again normalize this and have a cool conversation about something that people probably don't really like to talk about. I never really
Right.
thought like there is a certain like heebie-jeebies with it, but
All right, we'll leave it at that, and hopefully we can help like get some of those heebie-jeebies out of the way. And I'm just grateful that I didn't burst into tears today. Like that's my big like gratitude for the day. Like although it'll be fine when it does happen. But all right, Sean, I'll see you soon. Thank you.
you got it, Sherry. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.